Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly real estate market update. Today, we go over what we've seen last week all the way through middle of this week. We go over the numbers, counties, actives, solds. We go over how many REO are out there because you guys always ask how many real estate owned properties, how many foreclosure out there. We also go what's in the news for the week, as well as we kind of pick apart what our predictions are for the future weeks coming up. And we're really excited to have this show because there's a lot going on right now. In fact, Ryan, there's more now than we've ever seen before that's being thrown out at us through society and through the real estate market.
Yeah, I just can't even keep up. Every day I'm like, oh, that's a good article. I want to pull some data from that, put that in. I see, new numbers get released. And I'm like, ooh, that shows exactly what we've been feeling in the market. Our phone's ringing, people are interested in buying, and we start to see the actual numbers come in and roll in from different people in different sources, and it's so hard to keep up right now.
Right.
So yeah, let's just jump into it. So here we are.
Let me say this much: it's kind of interesting because now it's coming all to fruition, like you just mentioned. When before we were, definitely in April, we were really accused of being too optimistic, too pro real estate, too pro market. That all these different so-called economists, and real estate gurus were talking about crashing, and here comes the REO wave. It's going to crash on us. At the end of the year, all these forbearances are just going to weigh heavy on it. And we said, no. You got to look past the BS and you got to look at the actual numbers. The actual numbers don't lie. And instead of picking out the worst number and then highlighting that on the radio, on TV, and giving those fear mongers just feeding into that whole thing, no, it's not been that whatsoever. And now looking back at the month, and we always look back at a month after, a week into the next month, now we're seeing that those things never actually happened. There was never even a hint actually of a market crash or even a hesitation in the market. I mean, we barely even call it a hesitation because we didn't see prices didn't drop, and that's the number one thing. Anyone out there owns a house, they were scared. My prices are going to drop. Guess what? We said this before. Ryan said this a year ago. What's the best investment you can ever have? Is it the stock market? Is it real estate? Really? And that today proves it over and over and over. It's real estate.
And what's amazing is these numbers coming out, it's at some point in time when you have statistics coming at you, you've got confirmation bias. You think it's going to go this way or that way. And when people aren't in tune with a certain economy at all, or a certain segment of the economy, they see numbers and they just expect, off the cuff, what's going to happen. And we saw that, you had the mainstream and nationwide media saying real estate's falling, and they threw in commercial, retail, they threw everything into one bundle and then headline it, because, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's what they were doing, is they were just trying to create a panic. It was all clickbait. We said it from day one. Hey, these are the numbers they're quoting, and this is how those numbers are really going to play out. So yes, did the amount of deals drop? Yes. Why? Because there was less properties to pick from. So naturally, less deals are going to get done when there's less inventory to sell. Still seeing that today, but doesn't mean prices are dropping. No. Doesn't mean that demand is waning. Not at all. Actually, the converse, and we'll get into some of those numbers here. So yeah, you see this stuff, and we called it because we're in the trenches. We feel it. We see it. We know when our phone rings that that's the true demand, and that is where things are heading. So
you mean you're not Susie Orman sitting on a
on a $4 million property going, right. It's a great time to sell if you're a seller. Dump your properties. Yeah, because you got 3 multi-million-dollar properties, and you only need to live in one. So let's be honest, why have all those extra expenses? So yeah,
called panic.
It really is. Biggest thing. So, when we're talking about numbers and real estate and people come back at us, the number one thing they're coming back at us with is, oh, but what about unemployment? What about unemployment? And we've said it for months now that the largest chunk of those unemployed were never going to be home buyers in the near future anyways. They weren't at that stage of their life. They didn't have the income for it, even with their job. And so, yes, they've drawn out of the market. Is that going to have, a hangover effect on other, segments of the market, where now those people don't have the money and disposable income to go spend at other businesses, where those business owners and those, people who worked in that industry are home buyers? Well, what's interesting is because unemployment checks are so high now, we're not even expecting a lot of the hangover from lack of consumer spending, because consumer spending, from what we're hearing and getting reports on, it just really isn't impacted as far as they thought it was. We really are looking at like it's going to be this V recovery here. So, and this is one of the news articles that came through. Basically, reopening alone won't bring back the workforce, and there's a lot of silver lining in this. And the report came out today. They were expecting 2.1 million new jobs, and it came out like 2.5. I think that's what they were expecting. I don't even remember what they were expecting, but it blew out of the water what they were expecting. We don't even have the numbers up here because we haven't had time to go and source them and put them in. But what was interesting is just the amount of unemployment that was canceled through the week as well.
Hit the next slide, Ryan.
Yeah,
so this is a slide that I had seen and kind of put together here. This is basically tells you the tail of the tail. So if you look at the yellow is every single week as we increase the amount of first-time unemployment new filings, it kept going up and up and up. But guess what we didn't hear? We didn't hear how many people were being employed every week. We're just hearing how many people were being unemployed or doing first-time claims on job loss filings. But as we see right there in May, it peaked and now it's heading down, and it's heading down fast. So Absolutely. if I just take a look at the week of 5/16, okay, that's probably 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. We're looking at that point 38.6 million people had filings since April. Since
beginning
March.
of COVID, March.
Right,
and that's what you hear quoted here a lot. Right. Is people go, "Oh, there's been 40 million unemployment claims since the start of COVID and shelter in place." Yeah, there have been 40 million claims, right? But how many are still ongoing?
Right, exactly, and that's the whole thing. And the bottom line is here, a lot of people are going back to work. Right? You could keep adding a number that is meaningless over and over. We care about the net. How many people lost their jobs? How many people gained jobs or got rehired back? That's all we care about. And now it's less than half. So if we're looking at it, 40 million people, or actually now it's a little higher than 40 million people actually lost their jobs. Under 20 million have gotten over 20 million have gotten their jobs back. So that's why the unemployment rate went down this week.
Well, in fact, that's what they just released today, right? They were expecting it to get pushed into the 15% range, and it's actually at 13.3. So it dropped from, I think it was 14.7 or so. They were expecting it to blow through 15, but it completely turned the other way and dropped to 13.3 because 2.5 million people picked up new jobs.
Right, or got rehired back, and we're going to see that continually throughout this entire month, right? Yep. As restaurants continue to open up, as retail locations, malls are opening up, we're seeing that. And even though a lot of those people aren't actually home owners or are future home owners in the next 6 to 12 months, we're seeing that people who actually are going to be are out there in full force, in full numbers, looking for homes and actually pushing up property values.
Yep. And so this is a quick slide just going over some of the key things that are holding back these numbers from even being better. Number one, childcare. People don't have access to good and affordable childcare. A lot of childcare providers are still shut down. And so that's limiting certain workers going back to work or being able to work 100% effectively. Obviously, some people still have health fears. Let's be honest. There's still a virus out there. You need to take precautions. Everybody's got their own, take on the stance, from not worried at all to, batten down the hatches. And then pay cuts. So we talked about this last week, with the Fed bump of $600 a week for the COVID extras here. Certain, I think it's 2/3 of workers going back to work would mean taking a pay cut. That is insane. So of that, and I don't know if that's of the 20 million of the original 40 million, but 2/3 of the workforce would take a pay cut if they lost that $600 a week.
Yeah.
And that just goes into our original point that, hey, a majority of the workforce who lost their jobs, they weren't making wages that were high enough to buy homes, especially not here in Southern California.
Right?
So let's be honest about that.
And I'll throw. I don't want to get political at all, but it's kind of crazy when you talk about like the health fears. On one moment, the last 60 days, we have the governor on one hand saying everyone needs to shelter in place, not move, don't go anywhere. The big retailers have no problem; they can stay open. And they can actually, and they're making money, but all the small guys come in. And then, this whole week, he's saying, well, everyone can protest, right? On the other hand. And you're like, well, hold on. The small guy was made to stay home on one moment, and that because he didn't want to spread it. And on the next moment, he doesn't care if it's spread. That's how I take it. I'm like, this is just it's kind of a mess, man. We need to get people back to work. There's so many small businesses that are out there that need to go reopen so we can really get our economy right back up to where it was at. So everybody gets that, unemployment rate down 7%, 6%, where we're at, and 5%.
Yeah. And, they're already talking about, all right, let's go ahead and wean people off. So if they do go get a job, we'll still give them some Fed stimulus. They've been talking $450 a week to go ahead and take that job. So they're not dropping from 600 to zero. They're dropping from 600 to 450, and they're taking a job with it. And so it'll be interesting to see if that gets passed. But I like the fact that they realize there's issues with their problems or with their solutions to other problems, and they're trying to work through it. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Another one is this one caught me way off guard, that Americans have shockingly higher incomes than pre-COVID. And this is what it equates to, is personal income jumped 10.5%. Obviously, we know a lot of it's to that $600 stimulus, but that blows my mind that, they actually now have higher incomes, and it's 10% of the workforce. That just blew my mind. And then personal savings rate. So, as we know, us Americans, we're not very good savers. That's why we really tout home ownership, because it is a form of forced savings. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the numbers of what tenants, and renters have as far as savings and net worth versus homeowners, it's 6-digit spread there. So you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's normally, I think, like the last one I saw was 170 was the number, $170,000 difference in net worth between the two. And for the first time, people are starting to save. So they're like, oh, wait, things can jump out. We do need to be, saving for that rainy day. So that's actually pretty solid. I do like to see people saving, and that will only help, I feel like, the economy in the long term.
And the housing market.
Saving. And the housing market, because now people are going to have money for down payments and things like that. So, and then they're talking about shortage of homes. We bring this up all the time. There was, leading into this year, a 3.3 million home shortage. And now the latest numbers come out, and it is 3.8 million homes. So rolling into COVID, we were already 3.8 million homes short to be able to match the demand. Now, the numbers we've been told from the MBA, so that's a Mortgage Bankers Association, they said that 18.5% gain year over year in new mortgage applications for purchases was the latest figure. So get that. Year over year. So this month of May, which we've just exited, but it was a May number, 18.5% more applications were submitted for people buying a home over the last year.
So 2019 to versus 2020.
2020, there's now 20% more people
with no COVID or no protests.
Exactly. So you take that, irrespective of all that that's going on, there's still 20% more demand.
Mm-hmm.
And
crazy.
The inventory numbers are down close to 40%. So we'll drop this slide here. This is from San Diego. We like hitting different areas, as you know. April was down 38.5% in inventory. And these are the price tiers we're talking about. First-time home buyer and those first two move-up tiers. As you can see here, they're talking a 1.1 month supply. So if no new homes come on they're going to sell out in 1.1 month. That's insane.
That's 40 days. If nothing comes on the market, it's over.
Boom, done.
There's no
over.
houses
They've got
left.
nothing else to sell.
And you at that point, when we look at 1.1, we're looking at the junk of the junk that's been hanging out is now starting to be scooped up.
You know,
right?
it's like our slide we ended with last week, and we'll end with it again. You know, it was my wife when she went to the store. We got back from a trip right as shelter in place had started, and she goes to the grocery store to just get normal stuff. And it was literally picked through. Like, if we wanted to have, half and half with our cereal, that's all we were going to get. There was dairy, right? Like, it was
almond milk
through. No, there was no almond milk. That's what I drink, like, I'll take the almond milk. Like, no, it was like 50-50. I had an option of all kinds of different flavored whipped creams to have with my cereal. Like, it was bad. Slim pickings. That's what we're getting to, slim pickings. And what's amazing, people are fighting over those slim pickings.
Yeah.
Multiple offers on those slim pickings. So
Weekly REO or foreclosure activity report. We've been saying it now forever. We keep hearing people say, "Oh, the foreclosure wave is coming." I'm going to wait for the foreclosure wave. Yeah. Woo! So every month you write that check to your landlord. He's thanking you very much for actually waiting. He loves when you're waiting, guys. He loves it.
Absolutely.
258. So we went down 8% from one week to the next. 8%. That's ridiculous. I mean, this is the lowest number I've personally seen, right? And we're just keep going down. Anyone that's in foreclosure should have equity. They should be selling it. The only way that these are foreclosing, and we're hearing these, are hard money loan flippers that don't know what they're doing. The amateur night that we see on TV all the time, where they jump in, they think cash is cheap, they think they can do a good job, boom, life hits them, they're
out.
They're flipping burgers.
Yeah, the city inspector rolls by and hits them, and they're out.
So this is the majority of those REO bank-owned foreclosures are in this week. So go to the next slide. This is where things have really changed, and it's absolutely crazy.
Dang.
We're looking at it, and this is LA County. If we look at the last week, so it's June 4th, this number for the first time has really flip-flopped. So we look at the number of actives. There's 1,113 actives. Look at the pendings.
Yep.
It's off the chart. So you're telling me that more homes hit the market. Actually, less homes hit the market than actually were put into escrow for this week.
And so
that's mind-boggling. Now, last 2 weeks before, we had Riverside and San Bernardino counties. They actually broke that threshold. But I actually thought it would take a few weeks before LA County would hit.
Yeah, Orange and LA were the two counties that obviously they have higher
price points.
Higher price point homes. And because of that, with the lack of availability of mortgages for jumbo loans, we expected that slowdown to be a lot deeper and a lot longer. I know as a fact now that multiple lenders are starting to bring back their jumbo loan programs, and I think that's why right off the bat we start to see an alleviation here. So I think a lot of people rush to list their homes because they were a little nervous. Oh, well, let's get it on the market. And now, the big push for the spring is kind of like it's done.
Right.
And bam, pendings are off the charts. People are back. They're wading into the higher price point offers now. I know, especially with jumbos coming back. And it's amazing to see that now you've got more homes selling than are actually hitting the market again in LA. So it'll be interesting to see Orange as well. And what's great is the sold. So even though there was less, going in, there's still, there's not a lot of fallout from what I can tell really happening.
Go hit next county. Let's go through this county's pretty quick.
Orange, bam, through the roof. 50% more went pending than actually went on the market.
That's a crazy number. Let's go even crazier numbers.
Yeah.
Look at that. The inventory dropped in San Bernardino last week. The inventory of new homes in the market, my goodness, pendings went through the roof. So not only did pendings outpace actives, but solds outpace actives because the affordability out there, it's crazy. Right now, anyone looking in those markets, you're going to pay premium dollars for the next 6 months all the way through this. And I think that this bull real estate market is going to be lasting for a while because we're just short and people are yearning for home ownership. especially millennials. They're yearning for it. Let's go to the Riverside.
That is the only thing slowing it down. It's like a fire that's burned up all the fuel. They're in it. The fuel is the homes. There's just not enough inventory to keep it going. That's otherwise. These numbers, these solds and pendings will be even higher because the demand is there.
Oh, demand's there.
And same
Riverside, same
thing. 2 for 1. So for every home that was listed last week, 2 homes sold.
Or two homes went in escrow.
Maybe that's it. 2 homes went in escrow.
Escrow and about one and a third home sold.
2 for 1 special right there.
There you go.
Buy one, get one.
I mean,
and then here are the real numbers. So let's just go back to Riverside. So Riverside, there was 489 homes that got listed, but of those 489, 163 really got pulled off the market that didn't go into escrow. So they either moved to hold status, hold status, withdrawn status, or canceled status. So really, what new inventory hit the market last week was about 326.
The
you
net.
got 824. It's almost a 3 for 1. And that's what we've been talking about. We've been saying that demand in the entry-level buyer market is 3 for 1. There are 3 buyers for every seller in the entry-level market. That's wild.
Next slide.
And that's a huge difference there. That's almost 40%, right?
Keep going. Let's go to the next slide, Ryan. Okay, so now let's
go
go medium home prices, right? So where are we at with medium home prices? And it's very interesting as we go week to week here. What we're seeing, obviously because of the amount of homes that went pending last week in Orange County and Los Angeles County, we've seen an uptick in both of those counties in the medium home price. So if you're in those counties, you've definitely seen a little bit of a bump in your increase in value of your house, as a county wide, which is very interesting. Now,
yeah, it is interesting because we expected these to go down heavily when a lot of the higher price point homes were sitting longer. And we saw, anything over like the 1.25 million in Orange County, it was sitting longer. The days on market were rolling. There was less sales happening. And so we really expected that the median home price would drop quite substantially, but it's just not happening.
Yeah. And then look what, for the first time, San Bernardino just crossed Riverside.
Yep.
Right? It just crossed. As Riverside, all the lower end homes really got snatched up. People work in LA, people work in Orange, and that the access to the 60, the 57, the 10, the 210, they're just being snatched up because they need to have, they want home ownership, and they need to have access to the majority of jobs and where the heavy job market's at. That really has shown, and again, San Bernardino County, you're getting pushed up to the 300,000s. People need to drive. And in fact, I'm very impressed. And I'm starting to see a lot of things being built the last 12 to 18 months in San Bernardino and Riverside County. New industry, new strip malls, new retail, new industrial. It's all being built up, and we're seeing this. It's almost as if 30 years ago we had LA, and then the stepchild was Orange County, and now it's LA, Orange County, with the stepchild being the Inland Empire, and they're starting to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining, and that's why we're seeing that many people going out there and buying homes.
Yep.
Compounding.
And that's where we're at.
That's where we're at, guys.
Picked through.
We've been picked through, and so thank you very much. We definitely appreciate taking a look at our weekly market update. We like to give you the most current information out there, as well as the numbers. And the numbers are so important because they tell the truth, and it's not opinion. It's not fiction. It's fact. And the fact is that you save your money, get in there, get in a home as soon as you possibly can before you're priced out of the market.
Yeah, I tried to explain to a client the other day, we were up against multiple offers. We had a shot. I was able to get that agent to give me the number. What is the buy it now price? My client says, I just don't feel comfortable going that high. And I said, okay, we need to go buy less house because this is the new comp. And sure enough, in that neighborhood, another property got listed, $5,000 more than what that buy it now price was from that agent, because that one went pending for the price he told us. And here we are, next one went up $5,000 more. And the other 9 buyers who didn't get that house, you know what they're fighting over now? That one. And it's going to be very interesting to see how much higher that one now goes. So I'm keeping eyes on that one. just to be able to explain to people, this is really what's happening out there right now. And in the meantime, we revise our search down about 25,000. So when they find something that they're, okay with, now they can go ahead and have that flexibility if it gets ratcheted up on price and still be within their approved amount.
So next week, right? Let's go ahead and let's go get those 2 MLSs and let's go take a look at them, man.
Let's do it.
And
That's great.
We want people to understand that, week to week we're seeing jumps, not just month to month or it's slowly. We're seeing week to week going up at this point because now everyone's not afraid of COVID anymore. So the majority of people aren't. And with that being said, they're out there trying to buy homes. So
the biggest thing keeping that tamped down is appraisals. Appraisals are taking forever right now. Mm-hmm. They were slammed from the refi, and then they, a lot of them are worried about entering the property from COVID. So you've got a lot of drive-bys, you've got desktop, you've got a lot of different things. But appraisals where they were taking less than a week for the largest lenders we've been working with, they're now pushing 2 weeks on some of these. The turn times are slow. The appraisers are slow to get it back. And we have seen some lower appraisals come in. I just had one, and it's crazy because the comps are there, but the appraisers just don't realize what's really happening out there. So I think they're going to be the slow one to catch up, but they're going to realize it here soon when they start seeing these comps start to close and, oh, geez, it did go higher. It did go higher. It did go higher. So,
yeah. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining us. If you like what we're talking about, hit the like button. We're definitely every single Friday, 8 p.m. We're posting on Facebook. We post this on Instagram and on YouTube. Definitely follow us. Check it out. You'll see what we've been talking about the whole time is pretty much on that market swing up. And we keep saying it over and over. Some people will listen, some people don't. But do me a favor. Stay safe. If you're looking for a home, you go ahead and begin that search and begin your journey.
All right. Peace. God bless.